This is Michael Lukes from the Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization, and today I'm joined with Green Clock Films co-founder Justin Yapp. Justin, thanks a lot for joining me.
Hey, thanks again for having me, Michael.
Tell us about Green Clock Films.
Well, GCF is a full-service online video marketing company, and we focus on building a video that drives traffic to your website. And only being in business a little over a year now ourselves, we took our own services and used them for ourselves and are now #1 rated in Google searches in our area. So, I mean, we practice what we preach, and it's worked out quite well.
And how did you first get started as an entrepreneur?
Well, I always had an entrepreneurial attitude growing up. You know, on the playground, I was kind of the leader or innovator of new ideas and games and whatnot, but I didn't really realize my full potential until my calling came. And this is when I was laid off from the CW, which kind of inflamed the fire inside me, which I never really knew was burning. And I was determined to just build my own video production company and eventually a network of my own. So it kind of came out after, you know, being forced to play my hand. You know, like what are my options if I have to look for another job somewhere else and work for somebody else, or be my own boss. And to me, being my own boss and building something from the ground up just seemed something more special and more rewarding in the long run.
Now you kind of come from a artistic background. When becoming an entrepreneur, did those skills kind of easily transition you into an entrepreneur, or was it kind of a struggle to learn the business side of the business?
Yes. Yes to both, actually. The creativity and the innovation was there. You know, that was no problem, but getting into the business mindset of just the structure and everything that goes behind it is definitely been a learning curve for me, and I'm willing to learn it, but it's been a long process getting myself geared towards that side of things. But innovating and creating has always been a part of me, so that was nothing new to me, and that was very easy to adapt to and just really take hold of.
Now, you started Green Clock Films with your partner, Zach. I'm always really interested in partnerships, especially when there's a couple or a few young co-founders. How did you come to work with a partner on the business?
Well, that's a great question, Michael. It has not been easy finding the right partner. I've had many different partners throughout the past 4 years of trying to build a successful business. And at one point I said enough is enough, and I went solo for quite a while, actually, doing my own thing. And then Zach came along, and Zach has been an amazing partner and good friend. He's a true entrepreneur himself, you know, from the heart, and he's known this since he was a child, and he's been building several successful businesses along the way since he was a teenager. So he had a great head on his shoulders and a strong business background. And so when he came to me, we kind of, you know, talked things over and started developing this idea, and it seemed like a great match, and it is, and it has been, and things have been developing greatly because of that.
When looking for a partner to start a business with, what are some of the key things that a young entrepreneur should consider? I've seen so many that have thought they had the perfect co-founder, only to find out that it was a terrible match in the end.
Yeah, that's the real tricky part there, Michael. I think he or she needs to be willing to make the sacrifices necessary to succeed. Is one. If that person's afraid to make a sacrifice, that's definitely a red flag. Does this person have the passion for what you're trying to build? I mean, are they very just gung-ho about doing what you guys are talking about doing? And does this person bring value to the company that you yourself or someone else can do themselves without having to bring on another person for a free ride or something? So making sure that they bring a different set of values that you already don't have in your tool belt. And then the biggest thing, I think, the most important thing is trust. can you trust this person without a doubt, and will you allow yourself to trust them? Because if you can't do that, then it's just going to create a bunch of worms that you don't feel like eating. Like it's going to be bad voodoo if you can't trust the person that you're trying to build an empire with.
And when starting to go with a new partner, as you mentioned, you had some other partnerships in the past. Can you start to tell that, within a short amount of time of working with these people, and sometimes we just ignore some of those warning signs, or how can we really tell if someone has the passion and if someone is willing to make the sacrifices early on instead of getting, a year in and have them just completely bail out?
Yeah, unfortunately, I had the trial and error effect for myself, and it took me a while to figure out the certain partners I was already working with weren't working out, and a year or two were wasted on, not necessarily wasted, but it was definitely a learning curve for me. So it's not like it was a total waste. I learned something from it, but finding those red flags sooner rather than later is important. And some people disguise themselves. It's hard to find that sometimes, especially if somebody's trying to get the free ride. They can definitely make themselves to be what you think they are, and then necessarily they're not. So just looking for the dedication, I guess, and that passion is something that's probably more easily to read. Are they responding, to your emails right away? Are they themselves going out and setting up deadlines and establishing, new ideas and going above and beyond what their actual duty is? And then if they're not, then that's a pretty big flag.
Yeah, and that's great advice. Especially early on in a venture, there's a lot of times where people are kind of initially excited, and they can kind of trick you into thinking they're the right fit just because they're excited, something new, and they're looking at the opportunity side, when it still, in the end, won't necessarily work out.
Yes, and that's the trick, finding out who actually has that excitement and passion behind the excitement. Who's going to follow through on the thick and thin, because there's going to be tons of downtime and you putting out money with no return and going bankrupt and just, crawling on your hands and knees in some cases, just really fighting hard to get the business off the ground and or the idea, whatever it is that you're developing to succeed. And it's definitely going to be like pulling teeth sometimes, but in the long run, it's very rewarding, and that the person who wants to be there is going to be there, and the ones who don't are going to eventually flake out. So
no, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, in the long run, it's one of those things you got to keep your eyes open, but sometimes you just learn by doing, and it might just be you tried it out for a year and that person didn't work out, and you got to move on, and that's just the way it goes.
Now, from a personality and skills side, are there reasons that you and Zach are so compatible? Are there different, are you guys so different that you mesh together? Do you have a lot of similarities? What are some of those kind of things? So from both a skills point and your personality, are there certain reasons you guys mesh so well together?
Well, opposites attract. So we are definitely not the same in personality-wise. We definitely clash in a healthy way in certain areas, which bring out the better in both of us, in certain areas. So I think finding that opposite person who complements your weaknesses, and then you got your strengths which complement their weaknesses, and that in turn I think can be a powerful tool. If you find somebody that's exactly like you, your business might not go to the area of the unknown because you guys are so comfortable doing the way you normally do it that you might not think to look outside the box in a different area, especially like customer service or, uniforms or something like that. So different personalities, I think, is important sometimes in a relationship, because if it's too much alike, you're not diverse enough, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I've heard several founders say if you and your partner can do the same thing, then one of you doesn't need to be there.
Yeah, and I agree 100% with that statement, and that's pretty much what I was trying to say in a nutshell. I mean, I think it's important to find somebody who does something different than what you do, or has a different outlook on life in general, so you can kind of see different perspectives of what people feel and how they react in life, and just in general. So if you have somebody that's like you, you're not going to see it.
On behalf of CEO, I want to thank Green Clock Films for their sponsorship of the 2013 CEO National Conference. Worked with them several years now, and always gotten great work. Why did you decide to partner with the Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization?
Well, I want to thank you for having us, and thank you for giving us a shout out there. And it's always been a pleasure and an honor to be a part of the organization that gathers so many like-minded people into a giant room to exchange stories and ideas. And that's really why myself and my partner, Zach, have come aboard and helped out with the CEO National Conference, because we're passionate about entrepreneurship and developing small business. And I think it's a great opportunity for people to both learn and educate themselves with others. And CEO has been a fantastic organization, one of which I wish I knew about sooner, but I hope to continue to be a part of for many years to come.
And what's next for Green Clock Films?
We are looking to get a studio. Nothing is for sure yet, but we got some really good leads on some properties, and trying to get together some investment to get a hold of that. But we're looking to expand into a brick and mortar now, and start from there for the next 2014 season.
And a last question here. What's your best piece of advice for a young entrepreneur?
Listen to your heart and not your peers. There's always going to be people out there who say that it cannot be done, or you're living the life of a fantasy world, or all that stuff. There's going to be tons of naysayers out there. And if you know you have a good idea, then follow through on it in any way possible. And if you fail, who cares? Learn from that and improve your methods until you get it right. And I myself have failed several times in the last 4 years, but it's that one success now that has made up for all of those. And I think that benefits you in the long run. By failing, you succeed. And never give up, Yeah,
no, that's fantastic advice. I've talked to several young founders that have launched huge businesses, and they actually can attribute their success to being naive and not listening to the people telling them they couldn't do it, because if they would have known what they were getting themselves into, they probably wouldn't have done it in the first place. Exactly.
Yep. And that's the God's honest truth. You can't take everyone's naysay and take it to heart. You got to just, if you're passionate about what you want to do and you feel that it's right, then do it. I mean, if you fail, so be it. That's just a great learning curve for you to add to your knowledge and experience that you can then next time take your new idea to a further level, which is success.
Great. Well, once again, this has been Michael Lukes from Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization with Justin Yapp, co-founder of Green Clock Films, and you can check out their work at greenclockfilms.com. Justin, thanks again.
Hey, Michael, thanks again, and happy holidays to you and your family.